Starting your walk calmly is going to be very important. Don't announce to your dog, don't get them too excited, and have them do something in a controlled position before you go out the door. My dogs know to go to their climb table, sit, and then wait until they are released to go out the door with me. Here's your first option for some leash walking practice. So Mango's on his regular flat collar and regular leash. It's about 6 feet long. He's getting rewarded from a squeeze tube of peanut butter. Peanut butter is a very high value treat for him, so it is worthwhile for him to work with me because he knows there's peanut butter involved if he walks along nicely next to me. As we walk along, we're working on turns, walking straight with me, stopping when I stop, and then carrying on when I've asked him to. The cues I use in this sequence are let's go, which means walk straight, this way, which means turn with me, and then I ask for a sit when I stop. Now Mango's going to be getting peanut butter for checking in with me on his own. So as we walk along, if he looks at me, I do a mouth click and then deliver peanut butter from the squeeze tube. If I've asked him to do something and he doesn't respond immediately, I do not pull him with me. I simply turn my body and wait for him to catch up, and then he gets rewarded for doing so. Now we're going to be using single treats as rewards. So I do have a handful of treats in my hand, and if you watch my fingers, you can see me rolling them up one at a time between my thumb and my forefinger. If you're going to use individual treats, I recommend you get good at your handling skills of them so that they're not getting dropped all over the place. Here is the next step you can do if your dog jumps up. Intentionally dropping them on the ground directly in front of your dog every 2 to 3 steps so that the dog starts getting the reinforcement from the ground instead of trying to jump up to get it from your hand. Notice as we walk along, Mango stays right with me, he has a high rate of reinforcement, and he seems to be enjoying walking along.
Good boy.
The next option you have is using a hands-free leash. This is something I use for my dogs often, and I use it for a lot of client dogs so that I take out my play of moving the leash from our leash walking practice. I only recommend using a hands-free leash if your dog has fairly good skills and we're not worried about them pulling you over because you are connected to the dog via your waist. Again, we're just working on some turns, walking straight, and potentially a stop in this sequence. What I want you to notice is that with even this hands-free leash, the dog has that nice J in the leash so that it's very loose. He stays right next to me, gets lots of rewards for doing what I've asked him to, and I do not actually have to hold that leash. Another option if you have a dog who likes the environment is using a long line. Here is a 20-foot biothane line that I use for a lot of client dogs who love to sniff. How you hold the leash is going to be important, so go back and watch how I bundle that up again, making figure 8 loops instead of looping it around my hand. With this leash, if the dog goes out, I'm free to drop it line by line as they go and explore, and if they come back in, I simply just take up that extra slack. With Mango, he sticks close to me, so I typically won't use a longer leash with him. This allows the dog plenty of time to sniff and explore, and you can also carry on your walk quite a bit more. Also notice in this sequence that Mango is not getting any food from me. With a dog on a long line, I simply use the environment as the reward. You get the opportunity to go sniff and explore and be a dog, and then when you come back to me, I typically release you back to go sniff. If you have a very strong dog, a dog that's bigger than you, or a dog that's just a really big risk for pulling, I'm going to recommend using a head halter. Potentially a no-pull harness could work as well. The one I use for Mango is the canny collar. Fits up nice and close underneath the chin there. Strap comes out, we put our loop through the yellow piece and up over his nose. The leash connection is going to be right at the back of the head, so it's a bit more comfortable for most dogs than something like the gentle leader where the clip is underneath the chin. We walk along as normal with this. If the dog pulls out to the end, it provides slight pressure on the nose, but nothing too terrible. As we walk along, Mango gets rewarded again with his squeeze tube of peanut butter, which is probably one of his favorite things. With a dog who's going back and forth on you, what I do is only reward them from one side when I've asked them to be on that side. So in that last little bit, you saw Mango try to go behind me. I simply opened my left shoulder and rewarded him when he came back to my left side. It's good to practice with your dog on both sides of you. For my dogs, I typically practice with Mango on the left and Nellie on the right so that when I walk them together, I don't have any confusion.